Coming up in 6 days, the FAA will begin enforcing the remote ID rule across the United States. Or will they? We all know that September 16th, 2023 is the deadline for the remote ID enforcement, but I've been seeing a lot of scuttlebutt across the internet saying that the FAA may have to extend that out a few more months, maybe even out to December. But why? Mainly it's because of the availability of the modules. I've went to several of the manufacturers' websites, and all I see is potential ship dates, anywhere from end of September all the way out through the end of October. And then there's some that don't even have shipping dates on them. And there's no way that with the 16th looming in 6 days that we're going to be able to make that deadline to be compliant. Besides the shortages, there's no way that the FAA can finish approving all of the free applications as well as review the applications that were denied by the deadline. So I feel that the FAA will have no choice but to extend the deadline. The other concerning part to me is going to be the price of these modules. I've seen anywhere from as low as $70 all the way up to $300, which is more than what the FAA had originally set out to say that most of the modules would cost around $50 for the consumer. The only way that I see that prices are going to drop for these modules is when there's more supply than there is demand. Then we'll see a definite drop in those prices. Now you may be wondering what happens on the deadline date. Do we still get to fly or do we got to stop flying? Well, if you're a member of a club and flying at that field, it's business as usual. Fortunately, the AMA has worked with the FAA to create the Federally Recognized Identification Area, also known as FRIA, for us to be able to fly our model airplanes without the use of remote ID. As of August 29th, out of 2,400 RC clubs around the United States, 1,700 have applied for FRIA status, 700 have been approved, 800 are still pending, and 200 have been denied. The AMA is currently working with the FAA to find out why these sites who've had excellent safety records for decades suddenly have safety issues. That makes me wonder, are these denials the FAA's attempt to eliminate a lot of the flying sites across the United States? Don't know. It's just one of those things that we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Because you know as well as I do, the government's going to do what they want to do regardless of any organization's wishes. I just hope that all 2,400 of our clubs across the United States are granted the FRIA status and the protection against remote ID. But what if you don't have a club nearby and you really don't want to fly to FRIA? Will the long arm of the FAA come out and catch you? I seriously doubt it. They don't have the manpower or the resources to patrol every square inch of the United States just looking for the rogue pilot. And as far as your local law enforcement, they definitely don't have the resources or the manpower. And this type of activity is definitely going to be low on their priority list unless you're flying recklessly and cause some bodily injury or property damage. Then you're going to be in some serious trouble. The one thing that the FAA will rely on is the army of Karens. We all know the type, those that have nothing better to do than interject themselves into your business. Now, you may not be doing anything wrong other than just having fun. The Karen is going to find something wrong with it. And if they have access to that app, all it takes is them going, I don't see you on the app, or I think you're doing something wrong, and call and report you to the authorities. And of course, if you are doing something wrong, you can expect the FAA to levy a heavy fine against you as a deterrent to keep others from doing the same thing. Realistically, there is one way that you can avoid having to comply with the remote ID requirements. That's joining a community-based organization like the AMA, the Flight Test Group, as well as the FPV Freedom Coalition. Then go out and find a good club and fly at their field. Now, I know I'll get a lot of comments on, I don't want to join a club and I really don't want to be forced to fly at a flying field. I hear you and I totally understand. For you, you're going to have to make your own determination on where you want to fly and how you want to fly. You may never encounter the FAA or a Karen, but there's always that chance. Now, before you blast me in the comments section over why I really promote these community-based organizations, I just want to point out groups like the AMA, the Flight Test Group, as well as the FPV Freedom Coalition, they fight to keep our hobby alive. If you'd have read the original NPRM on remote ID, you would have seen the train wreck that it was, and it would have spelt the instant death to our hobby. Now, these CBOs went to bat for us, and they've gained some ground, they lost some ground, but in a whole, we're still flying. That's why I support the CBOs, and I think you should as well. There's still plenty of years left in this hobby, and if you're sitting on the fence wondering if you should join or not, just do it and have a blast. Till next time, keep it all in one piece.